Welcome back. Lunch with the Boys, PJ Clark, Joseph LaMagna, another Travelers Championship episode. We are joined by Shane Lowry. Shane, thanks for making some time for us.
Thank you for having me.
So I understand, you're a big football, soccer fan. World Cup fever kind of sweeping the Northeast, certainly. Games in Boston, games in New York, New Jersey. Are you locked in? I know it's been a busy couple weeks of major prep and now a signature event, but are you locked in on the World Cup so far this year?
Yeah, I have been. I was very excited for it to start, and I feel like it's dragging on. I feel like the group stages are dragging on, and I just can't wait to get to the knockout stages now. And when the teams start to get dwindled down and see who's going to get to the quarterfinals and semis. But I've enjoyed it. I watch, a lot of games in the evenings. Obviously, when you're sitting around having your dinner or after dinner, it's nice. Being over here in the US, the games are on at a really nice time. A lot of people complaining back home because the games are too late. But it's nice. It's nice. The West Coast games at night here are nice.
Have you been following along with the Tartan Army's takeover of Boston? Have you seen those?
That reminds me of what the Irish fans would have been like.
That's what I was going to ask you.
And I've talked to Bob McIntyre about it, but they look like they're having a great time. They're obviously in Miami today. They look like they're having a great time, and fair play to them. They should. But yeah, it's just a pity Ireland are not in it. I feel like Ireland would have been like that, but what can you do?
There's 4 years from now, 2030. Yeah. That's it.
I'll tell you what, the US have been good, haven't they? They've been surprisingly very good the first couple of games. So it'd be interesting. They've got a great manager, a great coach. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, what a welcome change, I guess I would say, on this side of the pond.
Shane, can we get a pick? I'm not a huge soccer fan, so can we get a pick of who's going to win the World Cup?
I think I've had a bet on Messi to be leading goal scorer and France to win the World Cup. France, I think, are going to win the World Cup.
Okay. Some big news this week with PGA Tour. Brian Rolapp unveiling the new competitive model that is going to be put into effect in 2028. I don't know how much you've had a chance to read and think about it, but what is your overall reaction to what's been announced the last couple of days?
Yeah, obviously we've heard rumors over the last while. We kind of almost knew what was going to happen. But obviously when you hear the announcement, it makes it real. I like that the big events are going to 120 players. I think that's how it always should have been. I think there should be a cut in golf. I think it's a part of our game. I think when you're going down the back nine on a Friday afternoon on the cut mark, there's, it's a lot different than when there's no cut, and you play different golf. And it's, sometimes I think even go back to Memorial a couple of weeks ago when you seen Rory giving JT that hug on the 18 green on the Friday evening when he hold that putt to make the cut. That's kind of, sometimes you feel great about making a cut. And I feel like that's a big part of our game. So I'm happy to see that back. The kind of 100, and I suppose it's going to be 130 something players are going to have their cards. So that's going to be and they're going to get access to the big events. So I think that's pretty good. I do worry about the smaller events, obviously, and I worry about the tier 2 events, what they're actually going to look like, and who's going to be in those fields. What's it going to be like? So I don't really know, to be honest. Obviously, if you're in all the big events and, you're on that part of the tour, I think it's amazing. If you're not, it's going to be quite tough. So, but yeah, I feel like the PGA Tour have had, a few years of chopping and changing, trying to figure out what the right thing is to do. And I think this will be good going forward. I think it'll create more big tournaments with the big players and more players playing the same events, and maybe will create some sort of rivalries or, I don't know, something along the way. But it's, it's interesting. I'm not sure, not that I'm not sure whether it's good or bad, but I think it's just, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Look, I made a conscious effort and decision myself a couple of years ago to kind of stop caring about what was happening on the whole landscape of golf, because I feel like you get caught up in that and all of a sudden you forget about your own game. And I'm going to play the biggest tournaments that I'm in possible, and I'm going to try and play as well as I can. I think if you play good, it'll take care of everything.
Two quick Ryder Cup related questions from me, and then I'll kick it back to PJ. How many times would you say you've watched the video of yourself holding the putt on 18 at Bethpage to clinch the Ryder Cup for Europe?
It's been a while, but I've watched it a few times. Maybe I might go back and watch it this evening, to cheer myself up. Golf's not been very kind to me over the last couple of months, but I watched it a few times last year. Even when you kind of get home from my Christmas break, when I'm with my dad or my family, they used to flick it on the odd time. But such an amazing thing to be able to do, an amazing achievement. And I did an interview a couple of weeks ago, and it's great to get all the credit for the hard work that everyone else did. Yes, I feel like obviously it wasn't easy what I did, but the other 11 players did a great job as well. But it's great to get a lot of credit.
The crowds were a big talking point that week, as were they kind of this past week with some of the stuff that was going on with Wyndham. I bring that up because PJ on the call is a Long Islander. And Shane, I was curious if you had anything to say to him on behalf of Team Europe.
I'll
eat it. Go ahead.
It's a good time to take a drink. I just figure out what I'm going to say here. I think the New York fans are interesting. They like the sound of their own. They like the sound of their own voice. I think if something comes into their head, they say it, and if it's stupid, they say it louder.
That sounds about right.
Look, the Ryder Cup was. I think the Ryder Cup is different because it's a team event and it's like us against them. Wyndham, what he went through, I suppose, on Sunday, fair play to him for coming out the other side of it. I'm sure that was pretty difficult, but they all wanted Scotty Scheffler to win. I'm sure that's the way they were. But yeah, I don't really know. Like, I'm not saying I heard somebody say that we shouldn't go back to New York or Long Island, but no,
it's been a common retort the last couple of days.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I just think in the lead up to it, in fact, even in the lead up to it, I'm not sure it's going to change how they're going to act. So it is what it is, and we knew what we were signing up for when we got to Bethpage. I don't think we thought it was going to be as bad as it was, but we dealt with it and we played the right side.
I was hoping you were going to tell PJ to buzz off, but that's okay.
You can do that whenever you want to. Is that part of the VR headset? Was there some noise? Was some noise in there when you guys were using the VR?
There wasn't noise on that, but we did during our practice round on our practice trip. We did have speakers on the course, saying stuff that you wouldn't like people to say to you. So we were trying to get used to it as best we could.
There you go. You were prepped. As part of this, kind of segues off the Ryder Cup and the PGA Tour announcement. Tour Championship is going to match play in 2028. That was as a match play veteran yourself, a Ryder Cup veteran, TGL. You're very familiar with match play concepts. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like golf needs the biggest match play event in the world. Like, there needs to be a huge match play event. And I think this is a good opportunity for the PGA Tour to do something along those lines. It's always quite difficult, and the World Match Play has found it difficult to keep the sponsors happy, keep people happy. We're trying to keep the best players in the world playing until the Sunday, and sometimes, the best players get knocked out. And I think that's going to be the case in this. But, like in American sports, in the playoffs, sometimes bad teams win the Super Bowl, or sometimes, you know what I mean? It's kind of, that's just the way it is. And I think if they're going to cling on to the playoff mentality of things, I think everyone needs to go back to square one, and everyone needs to, start at zero like the playoffs do in all American sports. And I think match play would be cool. And, I know there's been a lot of venues talked about, but certain iconic venues would be cool. And match play would be, match play, I think for a lot of us, other than maybe the top 3 or 4 players, it gives us more of a chance, I think, to win the FedEx Cup. So we all think it's probably a good idea.
There you go. All right. Joseph put me on the spot with the Long Island fans thing. I'm going to throw it back at him right here real quick. Last year in Portrush, Joseph made it over to the Open. He got to see your mural. It was all great. Joseph went a little viral on TikTok amongst the locals for calling the area of the city of Portrush. I've never been, but he called it downtown Portrush. Okay. And this was just absolutely roasted. He was getting called out by people on the street. Is that not a thing? Can you explain that for the American audience on this side of the pond over here?
Yeah, we would never say downtown Portrush. But what would we say? I don't know what we would say. I actually don't know what we would say in the middle of Portrush. We wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I can't believe people took that so badly. But it is what it is.
I can't either, Shane. It was an accident. It's an American thing.
It's an Americanism. But I just wanted to get your reaction on that as someone obviously very familiar with the area. All right, couple more for you. You're at TPC River Highlands now, winding down week after a major. What is the test at TPC River Highlands when you show up every year? Of course, you're familiar with now playing the Travelers so much. What are you looking at on the course, like during a pro-am today, for example?
Yeah, I think this course, since they've elevated the tournament, they've elevated the golf course as well. Like the setup of the golf course is really good. There's thick rough. It's they're trying to make it as difficult as possible. Look, it's a scoreable golf course. There's lots of chances out there, and normally low scores win here. But there is a certain amount of holes there's very difficult tee shots. And when you get to the back nine and when you get down the stretch, it's a good finish and it's a good golf course. I think the challenges this week are probably hitting fairways. If you hit the fairways, you'll shoot a good score around here. That kind of seems to be the way. The greens are beautiful. And like I said, they've done a great job. The build out here is incredible. They love, I think people up here, it's their big thing. The Travelers come to town and they love and they come out in their thousands, and it's a pretty cool event.
Do you think the golf course sets up, like from a player perspective, it feels like the Travelers has a close finish coming down the stretch with those holes every year. Do you like that as a player, knowing that the last 4 or 5 holes are pretty scoreable and you can kind of get yourself into a good position for the weekend late and around there?
Yeah, I think because if you stand on the 13th tee here, the par 5, it's a pretty intimidating tee shot. It's a wide enough target, but it is intimidating. It's got out of bounds left and water right, and you stand in that hole and you can make some birdies on the way in. But if the guy who has a lead can also it's not safe because there is some trouble out there if you hit some bad shots. So yeah, it is. As a competitor, it is a great finish to a golf course. And, there's kind of an amphitheater around 15, 16, 17 and 18 as well. It's pretty cool. And yeah, it gets exciting here on Sundays.
All right. I wanted to ask you about new partnership for you today with Stryker on a caregiving campaign, and you're providing resources on movelivetogether.com. Why did you think this partnership was right for you?
Well, for me, it's something that I went through with me and my dad. Over the last sort of 15 years, my dad has used Stryker products, and he's got a hip and a knee replacement, and it's something that not that he wasn't too keen on at the start, and it was up to kind of me and my family to push him in the right direction. So I feel like it's quite a personal partnership, and it's it's worked out pretty well. And my dad's getting on great. He's had great success with both his surgeries, and it's good.
That's awesome. All right, last one. We asked this to everybody. You already gave us a World Cup pick, so we're gonna take that. We wrote that down. We'll follow up in a couple weeks here. But Shane Lowry, what is your favorite fruit?
I didn't know what was going to. Has anyone ever said tomato?
No. Okay, so this is opening up a whole discussion now. Are you are team yes, tomato is a fruit?
So I've heard this. A wise man once said, Brian O'Driscoll is a very famous Irish rugby player, and he said this in a press conference. He said, "Wisdom is knowing tomato is a fruit. Knowledge is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad."
It's a great answer.
That might be the best answer we've gotten so far. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to leave it at that. Shane, thanks so much for joining us. This is great.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck this week.
Thank you.